Hey there, introverts and deep thinkers. Welcome to Introverts Unmuted, the podcast where we prove that quiet doesn't mean invisible and deep thoughts deserve a mic. If you've ever felt drained by small talk, mastered the art of sneaking out of the room, or wished the world understood the magic of solitude, this is your space. We dive into everything from navigating social energy to embracing creativity, confidence, and the unique power of being an introvert. So get comfy, plug in, and let's turn up the volume on our quiet confidence. I'm Amber Hansel, and this is Introverts Unmuted. Today, I have with me Libby, and she is a business coach, podcaster, author. Welcome. How are you?
Hi, yeah, I'm very well, thank you. Lovely to be here across in the UK.
Yes, I'm in Canada, so
I know.
it's always so cool to connect with people across the world and how easy it is.
Yeah, it's great.
So you started your business in 2011, really just focusing on business strategy and coaching and social media. It was kind of newer back then. I've been in this space for a while too, and it was such a different space back then than it is now.
Yeah, it's interesting. I started teaching social media in 2009, actually. I worked for a college and I was qualified as a tutor, and we did kind of commercial courses for businesses. And I just thought, oh, this social media lark is interesting. So I started teaching businesses. I learned a lot myself and started teaching businesses how to use it. And I really loved the fact that it was a great way to communicate with the world from the safety of your own space. And I did my master's degree. I did my MBA at the same time, and my dissertation was in social media marketing strategy. So I went like all in on this new technology. Started my business in 2011, and like you say, the landscape has changed slightly. I mean, it used to be that you could put a couple of posts out on Facebook and make £1 million by the weekend kind of thing. But now it's very noisy. It's very competitive. There's a plethora of different platforms to be on. And it is, yeah, it's kind of not what it was. In some ways it's better, but in an awful lot of ways it's not as good, and it's just so overwhelming. It's unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah. And going on with that overwhelming noisiness, as an introvert that you are, and I am, and many of my listeners are, it is so hard to constantly be on. We want to be on. Yeah. We want to connect because we love to connect with others. But it's the noise and the pressure that has been created that it's 24 hours a day. You have access to it. You need to be on. It's tiring.
Yeah, it's exhausting. And it's funny, really, kind of ironic in some ways, that when I first started out all those years ago teaching this, I always said, pick one platform and do it well. And there was only like Facebook and LinkedIn to Twitter to choose from, really, but it was always pick one and do it well. And that's even more true now, because we're so bombarded by, oh, you need to go on TikTok, and now you need a TikTok shop, and you also need to do this on LinkedIn, and you need to write these articles, and you need to do this on Instagram. You've got to do stories and reels and posts and carousels and it is just, it's almost paralyzing in its overwhelmingness. So I absolutely do want to do it well. And are you going to lose out? I don't know. I mean, in terms of visibility, possibly, but in terms of sanity and headspace, and actually kind of having a strategy that works for you as an introverted solo business owner, you're going to win for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know the platform itself, like you pick one platform and it's just they keep adding things to the one platform. So even within just one platform, you have so many different levels, like you were saying, and that's where things can get really crazy. And then we spread ourselves across all of these different platforms because, we've been told we need to be everywhere. But as an introvert, that is so much harder because we don't want to be everywhere. We just want our little people. We want our group. We want to hang out. We just want to show up in a space that feels like ours, that's comfortable.
It's always been the kind of vanity metrics versus the ones that actually matter. You know, Instagram, I think Instagram was one of the first kind of culprits of cultivating that, because you had to get 10,000 followers in order to be able to add links to your stories. And 10,000 is an insane amount. You know, if you think of that amount of people lined up outside your house, I mean, I don't want that. I don't really know anybody who wants, certainly not an introvert who wants that. But it's just kind of distorts this reality of things. Whereas if you've got 130 or 5,000 or, you know, 400 people, that's a much more realistic number to aim for. I mean, I've been on Instagram for, I don't know, 10, 12 years, when did it come out? 2013. So I guess 12 years. And I've got under 3,000 followers on there still. And that doesn't bother me in the slightest, because it is about connections, and I've built relationships with people over a number of years, and it kind of means something rather than just collecting people for who cares, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's been the shift in the last few years, is that we're going away from you need 10,000 people to, well, you know what? 1,000's like really good. You know, 500 is amazing. You don't need the big numbers. And when Instagram finally stopped pushing, you need 10,000, you need this, I think it really helped people go, then what do I need? Yeah. And it's the connection. And many of us have been like, we're here just for connection. I'm not here. I'm here to be social using social media.
Yeah, it has changed. It's not, I don't feel it is as social as it used to be. I mean, Threads is, well, we met on Threads, right? Yeah. Threads, I think, is the most social because it is just conversations. But Facebook used to be fantastic, but now it's so many kind of suggested posts and ads, and why is this in my feed, that it actually is quite hard to find or to see the stuff. And I saw somebody from Facebook, or an ex-employee of Facebook, said recently that to see all the posts from your friends, you'd actually have to scroll through 10,000 posts in order to see the ones from your friends. And it's like, yeah, that's that, you know, it kills the social nature of it, because we become consumers. That's it. Scroll, and you'll see lots of things about how to write scroll stopping headlines and how to do this. And it's just like, oh my God, you're competing with, I don't know, you're competing with an algorithm. And I don't mean to break the algorithm, but you're competing with a kind of machine that you're never going to win against. Yes. So the sooner we stop trying to do that and just think, do you know what, I'm just going to go out and I'm going to talk to one person today and that's going to be fine. That once we make that mindset shift, then actually we become much healthier, and we have a much healthier relationship with this space overall. Yeah,
absolutely. When we take away the competing factor, because we will never win that competition. It is a machine that just generates. And like, I've really stepped away from Facebook. I pop onto my community's Facebook group for some good drama once in a while, because that's what it's for, right? Read those comments, people, grab the popcorn. But, you know, it is such a battle. And I sometimes see it on Instagram too, and even on LinkedIn, is actually finding the people that I follow on my feed to engage with. And it's so much harder. And that's where, as an introvert, I'm like, I don't have the capacity to sit there and scroll and consume. I'm just going to send you a message and chat with you, because that's what I want to do.
Yeah. It's interesting, because I think us as introverts, and I'm also autistic too. I was diagnosed autistic ADHD, two and a bit years ago. So very late diagnosed, in my 40s. And that's kind of helped with a deeper level of understanding about all this. And small talk has always been something that I've really struggled with. It's like, it's like pulling teeth. You know, I find it really, really difficult. And I know that's a very common trait with introverts and neurodivergent people. But so having those deeper conversations, even if they're just a passing moment in time deeper conversation really kind of enriches life, and you learn something about people and you learn something about yourself often. And I find that much better, much more, I don't know what, satisfying for the soul than just broadcasting to lots of people. And in my business, you know, I've worked with thousands and probably 7,000 people over the years. I worked with thousands of people. But the thing that has almost caused me to give up my business a couple of times over the years is the self-marketing. I find it, which is ironic because I started, you know, I'm a marketeer, right? And I started off in the social media space all those years ago. But it is this, I've got to put myself out there, and I've got to put myself out there, and I've got to put myself out there. And again, also ironic that I am a podcaster, I am a keynote speaker, but it's the difference between choosing to do that in the space and the daily, you've got to show up, you've got to show up, you've got to show up, you've got to show up. So, you know, there's a real shift in me. And I think kind of there's a general like division of, right, we're going to do sustainable marketing that's much more evergreen, and therefore we can batch it or do it when we feel like it, and it stays there, versus the reels, boom, shorts, bang. I love the limelight kind of stuff. And I think there's really two camps now with it emerging.
Yeah, there is, because I think people got burnt out so much, and many introverts, and I talk about this a lot, is that we get burnt out from pretending to be an extrovert. It takes so much energy for us to do a reel, to show up talking, to do all this. And we cannot sustain that. And so many of us have realized, I'm not going to do that. I am going to do blogs, I'm going to do podcasts, and I'm going to just fill in what I need. Yeah.
No, it's very true. And it takes kind of a certain amount of courage to do that. So I run a community, I'm a business coach, obviously, but my community, the Unstuck community, we talk a lot about this kind of thing, because I really help people to build the business that they want rather than the business that they should have, you know, the one that we're told that we need. And there's a lot of conversations always about, can I say no, you know, dare I say no to that when that's what everybody is saying? Because actually, I'm too tired, I'm going to be burnt out, I don't want to go down that road of everything on all the time. And it does, I don't know if it's the difference between as women as well, that we always put more pressure on ourselves, or maybe society puts more pressure on us to do everything, to be everything, that to actually say, this is what I want to do and this is the way I'm going to do it in my business, I think is really admirable. But it isn't the norm. It still isn't the norm, because, you know, smashing it is still the stuff that you read about, because those are the people, and if they're happy, then that's amazing, but those are the people that you see, because they're the ones who are extroverted and doing that. So it becomes this kind of self-fulfilling prophecy almost, because the stuff you see is the stuff you don't want to see, but the reason you see it is because it's the other people who are able to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, because we don't always announce that we have done something amazing.
Exactly.
You know, as introverts and neurodivergents, we keep to ourselves. We don't shout to the rooftops, oh, hey, guess what? This is what I've been doing, and I do all of this. No one knows, because we like to be more in the background. But as that quiet leader, that is the power that we have, is we don't necessarily need to shout it. We just need to remember to say it at a certain point. We need to remember to at least acknowledge it and celebrate it with our community that we have. We don't have to share it with the whole world. We just need to share it with our community, because then our community is going to share it.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it, really? Because you know, it's like you kind of sit there. I mean, and particularly being British as well. Well, and you know, Canadians are the same. We're not very like vocal about our own achievements, and so you just think, oh, well done, that was good, and move on to the next thing. And it's somehow just saying that to at least one other person, rather than sitting there nodding quietly and saying it to your cat or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And we really struggle because it's like, oh, well, they did all of that. It goes back to the comparison
Hmm.
of, the pressure of, well, we didn't do it up to that standard, or we didn't do it like that. Well, we're not meant to do it like them. We do it differently because that's what works for us. And like you were saying, it's not the norm to like, almost go off of socials now. It is, everything needs to be an ecosystem that has to run in some magical way that if anyone actually really knows how, that would be great. But I think the problem is each person individually has their own ecosystem that has to run in a way that works for them.
Yeah. No,
Whether you're
so
introvert,
true.
autistic, neurodivergent, or you're an extrovert, you're, partly, you're a mom, whatever the case may be, we all have different circumstances where the business needs to run with our energy.
Yeah, it's so true. And I worked with a coach 3 years ago, something like that, because us coaches, we need coaches too.
Uh-huh.
And I she was absolutely fantastic, but I realized quite quickly that my energy levels were very, very different from hers.
Mhm.
And what she was coaching me on was brilliant. However, I was never going to be able to do it and sustain it because I needed to switch into like for me, hyper insane mode,
Yeah.
which you can't maintain for more than a few hours or a period of time because it becomes chronically unhealthy and you get burnt out very quickly.
Mhm.
Whereas for her, that's her that's not hyper for her, that's her normal. And just acknowledging that there's nothing wrong with that, we're just all very different, but acknowledging where your own energy levels sit and working in accordance with that is one of the smartest business realizations and decisions that you can make, actually, because trying to push yourself or punish yourself for not being shiny or whatever it is that labels we give to those people is it's not a great space to operate in, because it's a false space.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I know I've been through that too, where I had a coach and I literally left the program pretty much burnt out because I could not sustain it. And so I think it's important, and I'm sure you do, is really recognizing our clients' energy levels and where they're at and what is their capacity. Because not every person's going to have the same capacity, and what they want to do. So really having the deeper conversations that we love to have is what can help with someone's energy levels.
Yeah. It's funny. I kind of always, I'm like my own test case, I think, because I like to do a lot of self-analysis, and I've had various kinds of therapy and stuff over the years, because I find it quite interesting to discover. And once I was diagnosed as autistic ADHD, a lot of stuff made a difference, and I'm a bit sort of obsessed with finding out about myself. But I would say that I am fundamentally antisocial, because I don't very often go out and talk to people. And I know this goes with being an introvert and being autistic and all of that, but I also, on the other side, find people really interesting. So when I work with my clients, we have conversations like this. It's like, that was so interesting, and she said that thing that was just like, yes. But it's very different to building a friendship or building a relationship. It's almost, for me, I find it almost situational. And it's the kind of deeper, longer term relationships that actually I don't think I'm particularly good at, but I know why. And also, like you say about maintaining the energy levels and all of that, it's also acknowledging the fact that that's okay too. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you, doesn't mean you can't make friends. It just means that you work in a slightly different way, and friendships are different to the people who, I don't know, have the girls round and all of this. That's like an alien concept to me completely.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Yeah, exactly. And I think when you understand yourself more, and many introverts, we are really good at self-reflection. We love to analyze ourselves. We love to sit with ourselves because we don't necessarily want other people. And when we can really go, hey, if I have to be around a lot of people during that time, I'm also going to not be around those people. Like, I go camping, and sometimes we go camping with a group of people. And I used to feel guilty for not always being around them because I'm like, well, I'm spending the weekend with them. I have to, all the time be with them. And then I just left a 2-day weekend so burnt out. And it was like, no. So in the middle of the day, I just sneak off. I grab my book and I go find my own little corner and realize, and it's okay. I don't feel guilty because guess what? I'm a better person.
Yeah.
I'm a better person to be around when you leave me alone for a while.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's that what you said there, it's okay. That's one of the most powerful things, actually. It's just, this is what I need to do. This is what I want to do. And that's okay. It's this judgment or the feeling that we're not enough because we're not shiny. It's a word that I kind of use quite a lot to describe those other people.
Yeah.
and that's great, and it's really impressive, and it's great to be in that energy sometimes, but then you need to be on your own. It's funny because when my husband and I got together, we were in the same social circle before that, so we'd known each other for a long time, and I guess we'd mingled a lot, in the pub and out. And so he always thought that I was a real kind of social butterfly and a party girl and all of these things. And when we got together, I kind of say to him, you were so disappointed, weren't you? Because I'm just not like that at all. I can turn it on, but actually that takes 2 days of recovery or whatever, and a whole week can go by without me talking to anyone, bar him or maybe a client on Zoom or something like that. Yep. And that's it's like you said earlier on, it's that hidden life, I suppose, or our actual life that people don't see because we don't talk about that, because obviously why would we? Because it's like we're just living our own life in our own little world.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just, we love to be with ourselves. And really it's the shift in mindset of going, it's okay for me to do me and not feel the judgment. We don't need to pretend that we are some magical person partying in the bar like we used to be, because that's who we thought we needed to be.
Yes.
I have the same thing. My husband and I realized we are both introverts, and now we're raising 2 introvert children. So excellent. We, it's a good time. No one's talking to strangers around here. I can tell you that.
No one's talking to each other. No, you're all just sitting there quietly reading, and it's just lovely and peaceful.
It is, for the most part. So, it's one of... Yeah, but really it's okay to say, no, I don't really want to, go play with my friends.
Yeah.
And accepting that you can do that without judgment.
Yeah. No, it makes a big difference. And I think in business, one of the things for me that's been a real shift, as well as kind of acknowledging all of this stuff, because I used to be everywhere. I used to be very visible. I used to be very known. I'm like we say, the world has got noisier as well. There's a lot more competition and all of that. But I think my podcast, which is coming up to 3 years old now, has been one of the best things that I've ever done, because it's a solo podcast. And for me, I find that really empowering, because I get to share all of the things that are useful and supportive and educational and motivational and all this stuff for people. But it's almost like a diary, I suppose, in that I get things. It's quite cathartic, I kind of get things off my chest, and by sharing my own story, and I feel like I'm talking to people when I'm doing it. I'm not just talking into the microphone, into the void. I feel like I'm having conversations. Will be very one-sided, but having conversations with people. And I think that that's been quite a therapeutic process for me to work through. So finding the outlet is very important for us, and the one that fits and the one that we stick to, because I don't know about you, but I never stick to anything. So to to say that, you know, episode 144 of my podcast is coming out this week at the time of recording, then it's just like, you know, it's insane really, but it just shows that it's a medium that really works for me. And it was almost accidental that it worked so well. I knew I wanted to do one, but I guess I didn't understand why and how important it would become to my ecosystem.
Yeah. And I love that you have found an outlet for you. And I think we need to experiment with different things in order to go, yeah, that does work for me. No, that doesn't. And then don't go back to it once you realize that it's not working for you. You know, I feel like sometimes Instagram has me in this chokehold and it's never going to let me go. I'm like, no, I get to, you know, have the choice, and realizing you get to have a choice in how you want to show up.
Yeah.
And realizing, you know, where that fits in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the short form video is really something that does not suit me. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've had my periods of doing reels and you know, can remember, you know, the whole kind of lip syncing thing that used to be a big thing. You know, I used to do quite a lot of that, and it's kind of fun in some ways, but it's the consistency that is very, very, which is exhausting and which is leads to burnout and which is draining. And I think anything that you do is you've got to be able to be consistent at it. And for me, it's just like, oh God, come on, you know. I feel like, well, this is going to sound terrible, isn't it, really? But I feel like there's more substance to the work that I do with people. It's deeper and it matters more than a 20-second kind of dancing, you know, shimmying on camera or whatever. And that's not to say there isn't a place for that stuff, because I'll consume some of it for sure in those, you know, in those moments. But in terms of me putting myself out there, I don't feel that kind of thing is reflective of the work I do with people. Therefore, the stuff I put out there has to be like their try before you buy, you know, of working with me. Whereas, you know, I'm not going to get on a call with a client and start like dancing and stuff. So why would the content I put out be that? And I don't think people don't make that correlation often in what they're putting out there. It's just we can do this, so we need to do this. And it's like, well, how's it relevant?
Yeah. And how does it actually reflect you and your brand? I actually have a podcast episode about just unmasking your own brand. And are you actually repelling the clients that you want because you've shown up in a pink blazer and a disco ball, yet you're the girl sitting in the corner with a book? Those are two completely different people. And I'm not saying you can't be those, but what are you really wanting to attract? And who are you? And when, you know, yes, you can evolve and you can change, but I know the core message deep down is you're either the disco ball girl or you're the cozy corner girl. You're not usually both.
Yeah, no, I think we all have facets of both.
Yes.
But you're absolutely right. It's what's the overall. And I don't think you can be both. And it's interesting. I did I'm saying I don't do interviews on my podcast. I've done two, and one that came out this week was with a stylist who's had a TV series out here over in the UK, worked in TV a lot over the years, and really beautiful. Wears bright colors, wears suits, wears heels. You know, really kind of the antithesis of me, who always wears ripped jeans and t-shirts. And it's quite interesting because we talked about this in the episode. And because I thought, I think I would have felt a few years ago that I was a dowdy disappointment compared with her sleek, and she's dead nice, you know, it's not, but her sleek kind of presence, visual presence. But actually, I'm very comfortable in how I present myself now. I feel it represents me completely. And she feels she represents herself completely. And it was a nice kind of marriage actually of our two different styles, but we're both good with it. So it's kind of interesting how I think that comes perhaps with a level of maturity or self-awareness to be able to just show up in the jeans and the trainers and not feel like you should be dressed in a certain way or a different way.
And I think then that circles back around to what we talked about earlier with, we're not as scared to show up without judgment and do what we need to do without judgment, because we're comfortable with who we are. We've accepted that the way we do things can be different, but yet it's still good and it's still us. And when we can be more authentically, genuinely us, then it doesn't matter if she shows up like this and I show up over here. We can still have a really good conversation because we're two humans conversing.
Do you think age has anything to do with it? Do you think as we get older, we care what people think a bit less?
I definitely think so. I am, nearing 40 and, that which I used to think, 40 was like ancient. Now I'm like, oh, well, that's not that bad. So, we definitely, I think as we age, we become and come more into ourselves, because we do care less about what people think. And I think all of our experiences have been like, well, I've done that, and that wasn't for me.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I mean, I turned 50 last year, so I'm way ahead of you. And definitely just trying to think when I do what happened at 40. No, but it does. I think it does. Yeah, I guess part of it is you become a bit more comfortable and confident in yourself, but also you do realize that there's a lot of nonsense out there, and you see through it a bit more, don't you, as you get older. And plus your own experiences will shape the way you think and you feel, for good and for bad. So it's I think it's interesting. Like I say, I think we're our own best case studies, really.
Oh, I really agree with that. And the more we can reflect on that and go, hey, I am like amazing. But then also remembering to talk about that, remembering to talk about what we accomplished over our years. Oh, yeah, I did do that. Oh, yeah, I am working on that. And these can be hard things to talk about, and going, this is part of my journey, and sharing the scary journey, the messy middle part really is what makes us human. And going, okay, that's, it's okay to share that, because I'm comfortable with myself. I don't care about the judgment. This needs to get shared to help others.
Well, if I hadn't have made all the mistakes I've made over the years, I wouldn't have a business, quite frankly. I'd have nothing to talk about in my podcast. I'm a big fan of sharing that. Oh, and so there was this time that I did this, and this is how I would do it differently now on reflection. So I'm kind of grateful for all those times. But it is all part of the journey, and I'm quite happy to be as open, super open about all this stuff. I don't feel I need to put a veneer on things, because that feels really inauthentic and disingenuous to myself, and also to my audience and to my clients. So I'm always happy to share the kind of warts and all.
Yeah, and I think it goes, when we can just share, then we don't feel the pressure to be on all the time, because then we just share when we want to share, and we show up when we want to show up, and it's all good in the world that we've created, in the ecosystem that we've created just for ourselves.
Yeah, it be that 5 people or 5,000 people.
Exactly. It does not matter. The numbers do not matter. So how can we connect with you, find your podcast and your community?
Well, on social media, I am Libby Langley, at Libby Langley on Instagram. You'll find me on LinkedIn, Libby Langley. I'm Threads, at Libby Langley. Libby Langley all over the place. My podcast is called Unstuck, and it's on all the podcast apps, and it's also on YouTube. And my website is libbylangley.com, where you can find all the links to all of my podcasts and stuff, and also more information about my Unstuck community, and a link to my book, which is called Life in Business and is on Amazon. Always forget about the book. Oh,
That is amazing. I will have all the links down below in the show notes so you can go connect with her easily. I will have to check out your book. I am like reading someone else's book right now that's going to be on my podcast, so that I'm going to check out your book for sure, as I love to sit in my corner with a good book. Thank you so much for coming on, Libby. This was a great conversation.
Thank you.